All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Council President Tim Lane. Welcome to the Montvale Senior Center and to a presentation we're going to hear this evening about a very important development in our community. I just want to point out that this is a presentation that none of us have seen, and as officials of the town of Montvale, we're not going to comment on this tonight. We're here, like you are, to learn as much as possible. I don't think this is what's being proposed. I see Clint Miller with his horse there. No. This, I think, shows you what Montvale was like many years ago, and hopefully tonight you'll get a sense of where Montvale's going to be going moving forward. So with that, I'll turn it over. Mayor?
Thank you, Tim. Good evening. I'm Mayor Mike Asali. Thank you for coming. I want to recognize two people who their family and their dinners, and they're here. The mayor of Woodcliff Lake, Mayor Carlos Rendo is here. Carlos, thanks for coming, Carlos. Mayor of Edgewater, and also a member of the county economic development. Mayor Michael McPartland is here. Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Mike Weaver is here. Councilman Peter Collins here. John Pinto, Chairman of the Planning Board. The Fire Chief, Clint Miller. Councilwoman Rose Curry is here. And from the county also, Economic Development, Ms. Joanne Smaluka is here. Joanne, so people know who you are. And Donna Spot from the County Economic Development Commission. I was told I have to do an ad for the no-knock ordinance. If you want to sign up to be on the list and you get the sticker, no-knock ordinance, if someone knocks on your door and you're not happy with them, call the cops. You can prosecute them. Girl Scout cookies and all. So before we turn it over to Hakimian Development to give us their presentation, I wanted to give you just a picture of where we're at, what we have to deal with, and kind of put you in the picture as we all are on the council. There are 59 buildings in Montvale, corporate buildings. 5 of them are completely vacant. The likes of A&P, the buildings in Mercedes. Some of them are 25% vacancy or below. Only 1 or 2 are at 100% vacancy. So that's what we're dealing with. The taxes that you pay for your property, the taxes, all we have control over is about 24% of that. The rest is school and the county. We're dealing with the corporate tax appeals, and we have some numbers on that. When we have a tax appeal, and that's refunded back to you or to the corporates, that all comes out from our budget, from the municipal budget. The schools and the county don't pay for it. So for us, it's a lose-lose battle for us. Next, please. The big question comes in all the time: can the school handle additional development? And what we did is we met with the school system, with schools, and the K-8 school are saying, from 2011 to 2017, they're saying in the next 5 years, there's going to be 40% reduction in enrollment. And you see the downtrend. The high school, though, it's not the same trend, but what Mr. Gunterson is saying is they're thinking between the 20 and 21 year, there's 777 students expected. And the way that they can count that is they take the K-8 and then they can carry that over to the high school. Now, the theory is that people don't have money and they don't have kids now for the next 5 years. After that, they may have more money and the economy will come back and they'll have more kids. So these numbers may not be as effective then as they are now. Just quickly, what we've done so far this year, we have established a line between us and the county and the state. Hence, we have the county officials here, and the state, we're in direct communication with them for state aid packages, for the assistance And we're telling all the corporates, put us on the list, put Montvale on the list. We are a pro-business community. We want you to choose Montvale and to come to Montvale. We established Economic Development and Retention Committee. And the next slide, I don't think any members are here. Next slide, I have the names. Next one. We have 6 people from Montvale: Rafi, John, Duhindi, David, Sal, and Patricia Stitt. They meet about once every 2 weeks or so, and they're dealing with 341 businesses in town that they're trying to speak with, to see what their issues are, to retain what we have, and then to bring in new businesses. Slide 4. It's not all doom and gloom. These companies moved to Montvale in 2016. Between Sharp, Flight Center, and Celtics, we have 850 jobs that are coming in. Celtics I would keep an eye on. They're spending a ton of money to find a cure for cancer. It's a French company. They're very aggressive in their research. And if you're into that, that's a good company to keep an eye on. And we wish them well, because I think the day that we announce cure for cancer from Montvale, that's going to be a really good day. Next one. Now the traffic, the school and the traffic. The traffic issues, we are talking about 9 intersections in town that are going to be widened. We will have smart cameras that can talk to each other, and they can count cars, and they can turn on and off electronically. We're also proposing a northbound parkway ramp from Summit Avenue going out to the northbound. And we're actually, with the county, we have to be very friendly with the county and the state and the Highway Commission to try and get that done. We have to purchase a few homes that are funded by the developers so we can have that ramp on the northbound. Next one. Corporate tax appeals. We started the year on a very bad note with the corporate tax appeals, 1.2 million of tax appeals that we have to pay. We who live in town have to cover all that revenue shortage. So that's what we have to deal with on the council when we sit down and we talk about all these, all these vacancies, the tax appeals, the companies who we're trying to attract to move in here, and then the overall, the character of this town. Make no mistake, we are looking at things that will change Montvale for many, many generations to come. And I speak for myself, we don't want to be responsible, just by us alone to make this decision. So we decided that it's best that we come here, we talk as a community, very informally. This is the first time we use the community center, and it seems to work well. We should do more of these. But to show you firsthand from the developer, and you'll hear from them in the next 2 seconds, of what we're seeing. We'll take your feedback, any questions you can ask them. We can't make any decisions here, we can't discuss it because this is very informal, we're not in a session. But you have our emails, our phone numbers, the council members are all online. Give us your feedback after this and let us know what you think. Next slide. What you will see, the 3 Mercedes buildings that we have right now, their 2015 tax roll was $950,000 a year. The new proposal, the projected is 2.3 million. And even if they were half right, we're still in the positive. So keep that in mind as you hear them. And if I can ask you, keep an open mind. We want to have a constructive feedback. It doesn't do us any good if someone says this is garbage. We can't do anything with that. Give us some really good feedback that we can work with. So with that, next slide is yours. Yes. I want to introduce Doug McCoach from Hakimian, who is going to take us through the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm going to try and talk, work projector, and discuss issues all at once, so bear with me. My name is Doug McCoach. I'm a vice president with a firm called Collison RTKL. We're located all over the place, and one of our specialties is designing communities and neighborhoods and developments which I think go beyond a sort of typical suburban solution and actually create places which contribute to the neighborhoods where they live. Bear with me, let me key up my show. There we go. So I'd like to talk tonight about a project which has a working title called Triborough. It's a mixed-use community that is located on the existing Mercedes office building site. We'd like to think of it as the next great place to be. Though it's been, I think, a terrible disappointment for the community to see Mercedes leave, it actually is also a catalyst for a potential reinvention of how people can live and work in this part of Montville, the borough. We think there's an opportunity here to introduce new ways of living and working and being civic and social and shopping and recreating, all on this little site. Those Mercedes office buildings, not only did they have about 1,100 people working in them and all that associated traffic, but frankly, they're pretty much obsolete. We do a lot of office buildings at RTKO, and we can tell you that there's no market for the circa 1980, 1975 office building, because how corporations work and interact and move information around is completely different than it was 40 years ago. So you have a portion of your community which was designed and was very effective in its day. And I think one of the issues related to the vacancies that this mayor's discussed is that corporate America has evolved and is working smarter and in more productive manners than the facilities that Montville has today to accommodate them. So we start with the notion that those buildings are obsolete, and this is an opportunity to introduce new office space that would attract the same corporate users that the mayor's been discussing, and it would provide facilities that suits their needs. And in doing so, there's the opportunity to bring new residents back to this community. And I can tell you, we work all over the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York area, and what we see is this need to reinvest and attract younger residents who want to put down roots and contribute to a community. So these are the types of people that will be working for the Sharps and for the cancer facility, the cancer researchers, and even the Sloan Kettering site. So we think there's a big opportunity to attract this next generation of employees, and by extension, residents, to this local economy, and embrace them as friends and neighbors. And we think, what we know, what we see all over the country, is there's a real desire to find a solution that creates a hybrid of urban and suburban living. The criticisms of suburban life is everything's connected by a car. Everything's separate. We see that people more and more want to be able to live where they work. They want to be able to get together with friends after work and go into a restaurant. They want to have a farmer's market right by their building where they can meet, have a coffee, do some shopping. So that's what we would hope for Montville. Now, to do that, we think there's two goals here. One is to link physically, and the other is to expand aesthetically. On the physical side, again, with these new corporate users, there's an opportunity on this side of the borough to build some synergy with new corporate users and start to tie them together into a community of their own. We think that the Shops at DePere Farms starts this idea of creating a hub. Obviously, the Wegmans, it's a Wegmans, People are going to go there. They're going to hang out in the cafe. There's some great open space there, and we think that it's going to be a civic attraction. And there's a big opportunity with this project to link across the street, to get people out of their cars, have them be able to shop, do the grocery shopping, go to the library, basically spend an afternoon with the family in this location, and ideally go back to their house in this project. One of the things that the borough insisted with the Shops at DePiro Farm was a really tight design vocabulary. The materials, the details, the signage, the lighting, all of that was designed to reflect the character of Montvale, its agrarian traditions. We think that there's a method of actually introducing the same material palette, freshening it up a bit for the residential and office pieces, but to have the same rigor in the quality of the experience and design as exists across the street. So we want to reference the Shops at DePiro Farm, but not necessarily mimic it. And again, even as we talked about the shops, I'm a trip here. We were always fascinated by the fact that the library is here, the woodland is here, the school's down here, that there's open space, that all around this site that are community resources, whether it's open space or recreation areas or facilities, that aren't linked. So when we did Shops at DePiro Farm, we took great care to create the bicycle and pedestrian pathways that could tie everything together. And we see, as the borough considers how this entire area will evolve, the opportunity to carry that notion of connectivity for pedestrians and families across the street and to future sites. I was driving around there today, and there's a really nice water feature right here in front of a vacant building. And so you go, well, who's that water feature helping? If there was a series of pathways, that'd be great. There were geese over here with signs that look like coyotes to scare away the geese. And I'm just like, well, you know, the geese are there because there are no people there. So the goal here is actually to reconnect and to create a more friendly, more pedestrian-oriented place. So this is the view in total. This is sort of gives you an overview of both the Triborough project as well as the Shops at DePiro Farm. And this view is taken from over the highway, looking towards downtown. You'll see right along here is where Mercedes Avenue is, or Mercedes Drive. And what we've done is we've lined up our buildings so that they're front-facing towards Mercedes. With the Shops at DePiro Farms, we had a big setback. We've mimicked that. So we create Mercedes as a boulevard with frontages on either side. We thought it was really important to connect this project back to the Wegmans project. And so Wegmans Drive, which runs along here, is really anchored by the steeple on the Wegmans and also potentially by accents on the office building in the middle of the site. As we've come to think about the buildings and the mix of uses, we started to talk about 2 residential buildings with 300 units in total. One to the south, which is the right-hand side of this picture, which is donut shaped. And that will have maybe 180 to 200 units. And then next to that, in the center, an office building. That's going to be 3 floors of office over commercial retail floor, which we'd like to see as a restaurant. And then a U-shaped residential building, which is going to have 100 to 120 units. To the north side of the site, up next to Grand Avenue, we have another office building, again 3 floors. The intention with the office buildings is to attract smaller companies. These are not big floor plates, they're potentially rather small. And so you could have a single tenant on a floor, or you have double tenancy. But it's targeted towards the kinds of businesses that can grow with Montvale and contribute to Montvale's success. The residential buildings we think are targeted towards families that don't have kids. We like kids, but there are a lot of places in Montvale where you could raise a family really well. You could fit right in, you could have your trees and grass and lawn. And yet there is, I think, a demand, an important part of the successful continuation of Montvale for empty nesters or for young folks younger than me, who are starting out at these corporate offices, who are looking for a place to live. So we're trying to target not families, but singles and couples who are looking for a different way of living. One example was a couple that maybe moved out of Florida but wanted to maintain a residence up here to be close to family. So the unit mix of these residences is predominantly 2-bedroom. There will be some 1s and some 3s. But the idea is that it's not going to change the overall dynamic of Montvale. It's going to respond to a market segment that hasn't been addressed right now. Up on the left-hand side of the site, that big square building, that's actually a hospitality project. There's discussions with Marriott. One of the thoughts we had about this site is that a hotel that had a conference facility could be a very valuable sort of component of the community. It could accommodate the needs of the new businesses here, host meetings, as well as families and friends. So that's we're thinking about a 150-bed hospitality project. One thing that's very different about this project than most of the land use surrounding it, and even Shops at Shapiro Farm, is a parking solution. Again, what you would notice if you were to look straight down on this is that there are not big parking lots. Very few of them, in fact, compared to the suburban office buildings around, or even the Wegmans. Because in this case, the way the grade slopes, we're able to take advantage of that slope to sort of insert the parking structures underneath the 2 residential buildings. That then gives us more space for wider sidewalks, more plantings, the plaza, and a doubling of the open space that today exists within the buffer. We're actually, like I said, we're doubling that area in order to conform to New Jersey environmental laws, as well as create a real community amenity. So that's this area right down here, which right now is a really big parking lot for Mercedes. So it's a win-win-win for the Stamford community. We wanted to share with you some thoughts about innovation and design and placemaking. That's what I think about all the time professionally. How can we create a place that people would want to go to? People meet their friends, take their family to. How can we make it memorable? Part of that is to provide new ways to gather, new venues, whether it's dining, whether it's shopping, whether it's weekend events. And we're very sensitive to the issue of making this a local place. Nonetheless, where I live, our place like this is movie nights Friday night, and they're very popular. We have farmers market. These are the things that build community. We think that the population of people that want to live in this new development, but then also around it, would really like to have a more health-oriented lifestyle. And we think it's a big deal that Lifetime Fitness is right down the street, it's relocated. We see as amenities for the residential building, gymnasiums. We see also, the spa, the fitness center, retail is oriented, Lululemon type of store. All of this contributes to this sense of place. And then lastly, we want to create a unique design vocabulary. We want to extend and expand the Shapiro Farms vocabulary and create a place that's recognizable as something that's unique and special in Montvale. And the images, again, some of these are projects that we are responsible for. Some of these are just images of the caliber of the retail that we're looking for. But we certainly are interested in retail tenants which are sort of high touch, high quality types of tenancies, coffee shops, bookstores, places that you can grab and go and meet a friend at. And then big civic spaces where you can gather and let the kids run for a while and have a picnic and watch a movie. We spent a lot of time thinking about the character of the residential buildings. And we think that, again, we're trying to, if you look at the the housing prototypes that exist in Montville today. The types of garden apartments, which are very nice, types of condominium units, which are very nice. There isn't really anything that answers to the type of person that is comfortable with just a little bit of urbanity. We're not trying to create a city here. That would be the wrong thing. But what we would like to do is propose, materials that have a richness that sort of do a little change up on the suburban character. Again, shops in the base, retail shops in the base, big windows to let light in, rooftop gardens, and detailing that goes beyond what is currently available in the marketplace today. Similar with the office building. We see, again, a palette that again, is different than the corporate office vocabulary that exists today. I think, across America, the office buildings of the 80s are characterized by reflective glass and strip windows and even small punch windows. We think that the office market now is looking for facilities that let light in, that have taller ceilings, and a loft-like space. And so we're looking at something that has significantly more glass and is, I think, a little bit friendlier than the corporate office building of 1980. And going back into this issue of placemaking, some more thoughts. Again, these places can be successful when they're programmed effectively. When there's somebody that's responsible for promotion, somebody that's responsible for keeping things clean, maintaining a program of entertainment that's focused on local interests. That's how a good sort of civic center works. They thrive on the synergy that comes from different types of uses. Residential, office, restaurant, retail, fitness center, all these amenities. All of these things, including the hospitality, work together to create a stronger product, a stronger place. And then again, they also are shaped by the identity of the buildings themselves. And we've only shown some potential images of what those buildings could be. But a great iconic office building or a really great entrance to the residential building, these are the things that create a richness in a good urban plan. So this is the view from the other side. This is actually looking, if you were to go down Mercedes to the intersection with Wegmans Drive, and that would be a signalized intersection. We really want to promote the sort of the pedestrian character of the square that the two residential buildings and the office building face. The idea that there's the first floor of the office building could be a restaurant with outdoor dining facing the square, that the first floors of residential buildings are lined with retail. All of these things create that sort of grade level activity that ebbs and flows depending on the day of the week. The office building then has this vista over the plaza, also a vista back towards the wooded buffer, and then the residential on either side overlooks the square. What we want to draw on references, things like plazas in Europe, where the parking spaces are actually paved as though they were pedestrian space, so that when it comes time for the once or twice a year big festival, the cars get cleared out and that space goes over to vendors or booths or tents. So that there is, I think, an emphasis on tailoring this experience again to the pedestrian and focusing on moving away from the sort of divided and unconnected suburban solutions. These are some images related to the public space and their character. Again, what you see in them, on almost all of them, are the sort of activated ground level, an emphasis on working with the grade, working with paving, quality paving, and being able to go from a small, intimate experience with you and a friend under a tree to 500 people on a Friday night, all enjoying the company of each other. What we see all the time in suburban environments are landscape which actually divides rather than connects. If you go out there and you walk around, what you see is everybody has the landscape around the foundation, and then everybody has sort of a couple trees scattered around. But if you try to walk from one building to the next, you'd have a terrible time. You wouldn't be successful. So we think of the landscape as connective tissue, as a way to actually get from point A to B and to tie the whole of the plan together. Again, we think civic space and neighborhood identity go hand in hand. We think there's a great opportunity for Montvale to link this into other open space networks that already exist today, just waiting to be tapped. We look for designs which are open and inviting, active day and evening, and also multi-generational. I could tell you stories, but multi-generational is really important. So those are our hopes and aspirations for the project, and a quick sort of summary of what we envision for Triborough. I'm happy to answer questions.
Before the questions, just one comment. The three Mercedes buildings were sold by Mercedes, and they were for sale. And before they even had a for sale sign on the front yard, there were 6 companies bidding for the 3 buildings, and the bidder was the Hakimian Group was the winning. These are under the contract now. Again, the intent here is to share with you what we know. There are no applications filed. There's nothing signed. The principal of Hakimian, Mr. Peter Hakimian, is here, and we want them to hear from you directly what the feedback is. You like it, with some of the comments that you have, and we'll have him answer you, directly, since I don't have the answers. So Doug, want to come up and
Sure.
again, if you have any constructive feedback, would be appreciated.
And please understand, we're at a conceptual stage, so specifically detailed questions we'll have to get back to you on. I'm going to start in the back of the room, and then I'll move forward to you. So first in the back.
Hi, thank you. I just had a question because this seems to be an idea that has happened in other suburban areas like Montvale. So have you all collected data on how valuable these approaches have been to the town and in essence increase in property value and decrease in property taxes? And can you give some examples of areas where this has been very valuable and has worked?
Well, I can answer that in 2 ways, and then maybe, I don't know if Peter wants to contribute some thoughts, but so normally, we're planners and architects, and we would normally engage an economics firm to do the math. So we tend to speak from experience in terms of how many people these places attract, what's their vacancy rate, how successful are the rental rates, and where we've done these, which is all over the nation. We just see a broad benefits and broad acceptance of this notion of sort of reinventing the suburb to create a little more interest in urbanity. So
I mean, is there a specific website that provides the statistics on it? Because I know it's been done in other areas, and it's wonderful, I think it looks beautiful, but, coming from a homeowner who has lost value in property, and I want to get it.
sure.
So is this something that I want to sell my house? I mean, I'm not going to be here forever. However, I want to give back to the person that buys my property. And is this something that is going to provide value to my buyer?
The people that think about that specifically are places like Urban Land Institute.
Okay.
And the Urban Land Institute, I would be pretty certain, has a ton of data on mixed-use development and their impact on local economics. And again, the other place I'd turn to would be the local brokerage community and see if they have suggestions. Peter might have some other perspectives.
Well, just more generally, there aren't that many true mixed-use neighborhoods in northern New Jersey that have been redeveloped in entirety. So I would sort of step away from saying, well, where is there a redevelopment project? Because they don't really exist, but in a more
Well,
traditional.
I think in Austin, Texas, or in the Texas
Right.
area, which does
Atlantic
have a lot of
But,
internet.
but I would just think about some of the towns that are perhaps the most successful, not the most successful, but very successful towns with traditional downtowns, okay? Think of like Ridgewood, think of Summit, think of Westfield. I mean, the reason I think people in large part are attracted to these towns, is because they have dynamic environments where you could hang out. Now you look at other suburban towns that maybe don't have that environment, and I think they're maybe being left behind. I think younger people with younger families want that sort of urban environment. I mean, I personally, I like that. I like being able to go to a cool restaurant and hang out with my friends. I mean, that's one of my
And I find
favorite.
it interesting that you're saying younger families, when before the presentation was more towards younger couples.
I don't mean in terms of the project, I mean a place where people can hang out. I mean, our idea here for this project is to create a place, especially connecting it back to the DePiro Farm project, to leverage off that and sort of work together and create a place, basically like a neighborhood.
Right.
And I don't mean
Younger
just,
people and younger singles and couples are not going to vote for a school budget. So I'm trying to weigh, and schools are what bring in your property money. That's just kind of my argument.
these would be rentals, upscale rentals.
Hold on.
I heard a question about size. I mean, they'd be, we're talking primarily 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, small units.
And the price.
Now, let's do this, hold on. I see a hand back to the gentleman.
Can I just,
If you can, just put your hand up, because there's about 140 people here, and one at a time would be really good.
so in terms of the units, you're looking at units that are, say, 750 square feet for a 1 bedroom. They're not big units. You can't cram too many people into that unit. On the 2 bedrooms, probably about 950 square feet.
Start with the gentleman. We're going to work our way.
He's gonna be-
Yes, sir.
So I saw the presentation, and I want to say I really enjoyed it. It was really great. It reminded me of when I lived in Hoboken. My concern is that I moved out of Hoboken. Okay? So you talk about Ridgewood and some of the other towns, but the difference between those towns and what you propose is that those towns grew organically, okay, slowly. Each block was done over a period of decades. Okay, it's not happening inorganically, which is what you're presuming to do. I mean, I have a knock list that I could go down for a half an hour. I'm sure nobody wants to hear all of those, but I will say that 300 or 420 rental units is a substantial
300.
300. It's a substantial change to what we're looking at in our town, and it's something that I think we all need to take a pause with before we decide whether this be good or bad for us.
Yes, ma'am.
I have at least 10 questions.
Actually, I was
Oh,
going to
I'm
ask.
sorry, your finger pointing.
We'll get to you
nowhere.
over.
I commend you for your presentation because I want to sign up based on the European Plaza and the festivals that are going to take place and everything else. The restaurants, we need more restaurants here. But so, we get those vendors or whatever, not vendors, renters to lease the space. We don't know what's going to be in the business. I'm less concerned about the business because we have to do something with the Mercedes property, obviously. My biggest concern is the 300 rental.
Correct.
Because as a homeowner, to me, automatically, that brings each and every one of our home values, the median value down. And to Kim's point, that is a concern. I think that all Montvale residents should be considering. The rest of the space, yeah, sign us up, or sign me up.
Kids keep going across.
Just along the same lines of rental, why not condominiums rather than rental?
You've had your hand up for a while.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the presentation. I have more of just like an observation. So this is now the second large-scale development project that we're being asked to accept into our lives. fine. We all understand there has to be progress. You have to bring businesses, our community needs to continue to thrive. I guess what I don't understand is when I hear you talk about civics and social aspect and building a community and fortifying that community, is why aren't we working with someone like you to give us something that we truly need, and that I know from many other parents in the community that we need, and that is some type of a complex where our kids can actually play. If you look behind you, you'll see that our facilities at Memorial are absolutely horrendous. And so when I think about, like, you're talking about, oh, you're gonna spend half the day there, you can hang out with your family, you can have lunch, brunch, whatever the case may be. And we really wanna support our community, we really want our community to grow. Why aren't we feeding one of the things that makes our community thrive? I just, it's perplexing to me, because many parents in this community spend half their Saturdays and half their Sundays at a baseball field, at a basketball court, at a soccer field, which, by the way, if it was a part of your development, it's completely advantageous to every single vendor that's there. But it just seems to be a topic that's never addressed.
Yes, ma'am. We'll work our way back.
I just have a couple of questions. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't one of the reasons we pursued the Wegmans was that we were going to be avoiding having rentals on that property? And now you're building the Wegmans, but now proposing rentals again, which I don't understand. You know, rentals are not a part of our community. If they were condos or you were selling them, I guess I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it. But you can't come to us in one instance and say, hey, we want a Wegmans in this nice farm-like area, these little boutiques, and I just heard that you're putting an Ulta or a Sephora of 6,000 square feet, I think, there, which doesn't remind me of a farm-like community, to be quite honest. I can go to Paramus for that. And now you're here 6 months, a year later, buying the property across the street and telling us about 300 rentals, which I'm fairly confident nobody in this town wants. I think if you took a vote and put that for a referendum, you would get not one vote. That's my first comment. My second, I do have a question. Is there any consideration of building another exit off of the Parkway, right in between the Lifetime and the Mercedes area? Because I, for the life of me, have no idea how you were going to fit all of this traffic. I'm dreading Wegmans coming, because I don't know how you're going to accommodate that traffic. Now, you want a project double the size, and you were talking about parking for the residents under their building, but what about the parking for all of these stores? Where is that going to be? Okay, wait, I know, I have a couple of other questions.
Can I answer a couple of those now? Or-
What are the height of these buildings that you're going to be proposing? That I'm a little concerned with. I guess I made you guys. Oh, and I am curious how you're planning on targeting nesters as opposed to younger people and not have kids. You're going to have a no kids policy in the building? I don't see how you're going to stop kids from moving into these rentals.
The units are 950 square feet. You could have a kid, I guess, if you want.
Manhattan, New York City.
This isn't, I could only speak to, I just don't think a lot of people are going to want to put
But
2 or 3
you're
kids in
not,
a
you're not
900.
rental. They have no ties to the community. They're transient.
Transient.
And we also have Stellar school system.
Well, I think, you know, those are points that are understood. And I think in terms of the height, we're talking, the tallest buildings are 4 stories over 1-story retail, so it tends to be about 60 foot tall. They're also benched into the hillside, so they step, so they're not obtrusively large. And as far as, you know, the highway intersection, that's a great suggestion.
But
it's
is it even
certainly
possible?
Well, it's
I mean,
not even-
realistically, can another exit off of that parkway? Because we already know Woodcliff Lake exit is right there. Okay, so is it even possible or feasible? Is that even, because I know it's not, we don't own the property. So, I mean, at least to divert it away from that main area.
As it relates to it being possible, I think the borough is working on that. As it relates to the rest of the infrastructure, the traffic infrastructure in town, as part of the Wegmans plan, and approval, there's going to be a significant investment by us, the developer, to basically fix every intersection in town.
Okay, but what about
Millions of
Grand
dollars.
Ave? You can't fix Grand Ave.
What about the
Grand Ave
center?
is one way. You can't.
Thank you.
Let's continue over, is anybody over here? Okay, now we're gonna go to this gentleman here, this gentleman here, and also in the sweater, we wanted to make a point out.
Yeah, it's already been repeated, so I'm not going to take away time. But the whole concept of a stable community with all these aesthetics and everything, rental basically transient, and you've heard enough about it, so I'm not going to elaborate. But 300, 2 buildings of rental, what do you need that for? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
So as I kind of did something like this where I lived in Hoboken for a bunch of years. I moved to Westwood and lived right by the center of town. I didn't need a car. It was wonderful. I was a renter, which I guess is a bad thing in this room.
Nothing against them.
But I lived in Westwood and it allowed me to get used to the community, and I bought a place here and I love it here. And I think, yes, most renters will probably come in and then leave, but if you're targeting younger people, you have empty nesters that are probably going to sell their house here, love the town, going to go rent there. You have younger people that want to start families, they can't live in the apartment, they move out. That has nothing to do with what I was actually going to say, but I just wanted to get that off my chest. My thought is, the main challenges that I see is, if you're going to attract younger people, you're going to need some sort of way to bus them to the train. You're going to need a way to get them to the bus easily on the parkway. Those are big challenges. And other challenges is, you're going to need a way to get liquor licenses. Now, if you're going to have a main area that has mainly people that are younger and that don't want to drive, Uber is an obvious solution that I use when I go to the train, so it's around. But you have high-end restaurants. People are going to want to drink there. You're going to want to meet friends there. You're selling the younger experience. You're going to need the liquor licenses.
Which means more accidents. Thanks.
I could respond.
Okay, a larger police presence, you get more DUIs, more money for the town.
I could respond on both of those issues. We,
Haven't no drinking.
many of our projects, we run a shuttle bus during transit hours. Those are successful. They get cars off the street. They run in the morning and evening hours. And we agree with you as it relates to the restaurant use and enlivening the plaza. We have a liquor license that we've secured that we would envision as part of, a high-end restaurant.
Or sports bar.
Just for those of you who aren't getting tired, we'll sort of back up. We're going to work our way across the room moving forward, so you're probably going to be towards the end of the meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Because I have 10 questions, and that's unseemly to ask, may I suggest you set up a Google group or something like that, whereby we can pose questions as we further discuss this, and you, or perhaps the mayor or his designee, would then respond to those questions, because I'm sure more will surface.
More
So
meetings.
that would be my first question, so it will eliminate 9 more. But nevertheless, I do want to say, this reminds me of Reston, Virginia. It reminds me of Battery Park City. And so you're looking at a whole new lifestyle, a whole new millennial generation. And by the way, my daughter and son-in-law, who are young lawyers, live in a studio with their baby. So please understand, it is possible. It might not be desirable. But I want to know about, as an example, the impact on emergency services, and that's something you could address, such as police and fire department and ambulance corps. And when you said high-end rentals, I wanted to know what you mean by high-end rentals.
Well, I think, at least with regard to emergency services, I think there's a process ahead of us working with the borough to make sure that police, fire, ambulance service is all attended. It's the same process that we went through with the shops at the Pier Farm. So I think there will be. We're still at the sketchy stage, but those are important things that shape our project, and we'll attend to those. In terms of high-end rental,
I guess as it relates to the easiest way to define it is sort of to think of a high-end sort of boutique hotel and the experience you have there. That in essence is what it's up to. Cost.
Have you done price studies to see what?
There really aren't any comps per se in this area in terms of new product.
He wouldn't invest if he didn't have an idea what they're gonna be.
Yeah, we would project $1,800,
There you go.
$1,900 for a one-bedroom.
What's
One
that?
bedroom?
1819 or one bedroom.
He's been up for
Originally, something like this, these got these projects all over the country. How about a website that shows all these projects in these areas?
Yeah.
So somebody can go up and look for themselves and see what the impact might be on that community.
Okay, it's great that people have actually.
And I have one more question.
Okay.
You also mentioned the parking areas to be set up so it could be used for events, right? Where do the cars go that would be parked there? Are you going to have so much parking that you could accommodate events and places to park?
Okay, so on the parking is, the parking strategy is that the residents park themselves, and that, like a traditional downtown, people who are going to shop are parking in the streets. So we'd have diagonal parking surrounding on all the streets surrounding this area. So
What streets are going to be surrounding that?
within the project, there are a number of north, south, and east, west streets that can accommodate a really decent parking count, 5 spaces per 1,000 to use dive into a little bit of technical terminology, so that we know that the retailers can be supported with on-street parking, which harkens back to what makes good downtowns. And occasionally, and it's not regularly, but occasionally there may be an event that you cordon off a street and the 12 cars. Yeah, well, that's true. They're always parked across the street in Wegmans, so there's going to be, space there. But expanding that plaza a little bit to accommodate a civic event doesn't displace that much parking.
So there's no issue with parking when you have events, and how about traffic when you have events?
Well, again, obviously to go through the process with the community, we'll do the traffic studies, which we haven't done yet. But our experience, the goal here would be a lot of the participants of those events are walking. They live there. And then for those that are driving over, again, there are a lot of parking within a 2-block distance from that plaza.
One other thing, you have to have affordable housing entrenched into this project. How much affordable?
We're really only at the concept plan here at this stage, so we haven't come up with the affordable housing plan.
The norm was 20%, that'd be 60 units.
The norm for rental is 15%.
4 units.
Okay, one other point, and then I'll go back to work across the road. People have mentioned Reston. People have mentioned projects in Dallas, outside of Dallas. RTKL is responsible for both Reston Town Center, as well as the projects outside of Dallas. And they're great examples of what a good community can be. So I think we could provide material. We could provide some illustrations of successful town center plans. Maybe there's a website, some mechanism to distribute that as part of our portfolio.
A list of the towns that this took place. So you could provide that on somebody's website?
We'll work with the
And there was just one other thing. A woman brought up asking questions. Wouldn't it be a good idea to put in the website where if you had any questions, you could submit them into the website and get a...
We have a website, and there's to ask a question on the website. Keep in mind, folks, this is the first step of many, many steps. They don't have the detailed plans, there are no measurements of spaces, this is a bird's eye view of what the intention is. And what we wanted to do here is to give you an idea of what they're thinking and get your feedback. Some of the questions that you're asking, they don't have the answers for. I don't blame them. And I commend them for standing here. So I would ask you a favor. Let's keep the tone as a friendly tone, because we're trying to work this out on what we want from this property. if we are all negative, let me suggest some negative tones here. Let's keep it all positive, constructive. It will help all of us.
Thank you.